On today's video, we're going to talk about a market update. What is going on in the world of mortgages, interest rates, rents? Are prices going up, down or sideways? Welcome to Property Insight. My name is Neil Harding.
And I'm Mark Ashworth. So the property update, the market update, I believe we've got some interesting topics to cover. Not masses amounts has changed since the last video that we did on this, but I understand that we've got a new 99% mortgage with the Yorkshire Bank.
Yeah, the Yorkshire Building Society have released a mortgage at 99% loan to value. I think it's been out now for maybe a month. And it's really targeted at first-time buyers, so 99%.
Residential, as in owner-occupiers, yeah?
Residential, owner-occupier, first-time buyer market. So potentially, I mean, it's a very exciting headline, isn't it? You know, 99%, I only need a 1% deposit.
Is that what it's trying to do? Is it a marketing, do you think it's a marketing tactic? It probably is. Is everyone going to be eligible? Probably not, yeah. Exactly
right. I mean, it's a great headline grabber, and if you if you're someone who's, well, that's great, you know, I want to buy a flat for £100,000 and I've only got, £1,000 in the bank, I can get that. Well, probably not, actually, for a number of reasons. So it's not eligible for people in Northern Ireland. It's not eligible for anyone that's already bought a property, so it's first-time buyers only. And also in that scenario of what I've just given there of £100,000, you would need to put in £5,000 minimum deposit. So you do at least have to put in £5,000. So in that scenario, effectively, it would be a 95% loan to value mortgage, which is still quite a high loan to value percentage, but it's not 99%, clearly.
Okay.
And the 99% is where, if you went all the way up to like £495,000 worth of borrowing, which I think is the maximum loan you can take, then yeah, at that level it's 99%, and then between there and 100,000, which I think was the minimum amount that they'll lend, it's a bit of a sliding scale. So in actual fact, one of these devil in the detail things, it's probably going to work out more like a 95% mortgage for you than a 99% mortgage, but yeah.
So I think we can safely assume then that the original assumption was correct, that actually it's a marketing ploy to get people to look at the Yorkshire Bank Building Society website, and maybe some of you will now do that because we've spoken about it on this channel. But nevertheless, it's still out there, and I guess it makes some headlines, and it's quite interesting. So on the buy-to-let front, we've got the Mortgage Works out there now offering limited company mortgages for a remortgage or a further advance. And it also covers a purchase as well. So if you're looking to purchase a property, 5.99% fixed for 5 years with no fees. Interesting. My view is that if you have stuff which is, let's say, low gearing, so let's say you've currently got 50% loan to value property and you're looking to remortgage that, it might be well worth paying a little bit extra and having the fee added to the loan, and therefore getting a lower interest rate. I believe we can do one. Well, they're doing one at 4.89 fixed for 5 years with no fees. But with fees, I think it's something around 4.24 or 4.29, I think. I know that because I've just got one going through at the minute with the Mortgage Works, which I've decided to add the fees to the loan just purely because there's quite a lot of equity in the property.
Is that a property for your own name, or is that within your own name?
Yeah, I've had that property since, for years. It was the first one that we lived in that we haven't remortgaged since 2006. So in actual fact, quite a good deal there with the Mortgage Works. So I think we're starting to see some competition in the market. Although the swap rates have altered slightly in the last few weeks, which is sort of providing perhaps mortgage interest rates going up very slightly. Maybe that will adjust if on the next Bank of England meeting they do reduce the rates. We are expecting a reduction at some point. Whether that will happen this side of the summer or not, we don't know, but obviously time will tell. House prices, we'll put a link in the show notes below from a BBC article which talks about prices fall as lenders raise mortgage rates. We're still seeing this effect of inflation affecting almost everything apart from house prices. It's certainly that house prices have gone up very, very slightly, but nowhere near the levels of inflation we've seen in the last 18 months. And so therefore, it's still an indication that house prices are holding where they are. And in actual fact, when interest rates do go down, there could well be quite a big boom
It could be. I mean, it could be the trigger, couldn't it? It could be that people are waiting to see those interest rates drop. If that's reflected in the pricing of mortgage products, it could be the start of momentum.
I think what it's all about is sentiment. So how are people feeling about buying properties, moving house, things like that? And I think that the minute interest rates start to drop, I reckon if there's 2 consecutive drops, I reckon that will trigger the housing market without doubt. Yeah. And I think the prices will go up fairly rapidly because, you know, it's a supply and demand issue, isn't it?
Right.
That's my view. So the Nationwide say that house prices were down by 0.4%. I mean, these are very, very small amounts.
For the month, is that?
This is compared with the previous month. So yeah, this month compared with the previous. Average home costing 261,000, in fact almost 262,000. Some 4% below the peak in the summer of 2022. So again, all this inflation over the last 2 years, but not really any inflation in house prices. And that's because of the mortgage interest rates that we're seeing is putting people off moving home. Probably because it's costing them a lot to live, right? The house price of everything else has gone up. That they're just sort of keeping still, let's say. The housing market is sort of like just ticking along very slowly. The estate agents I've spoken to over the last few weeks have said they're very busy with instructions and listings and viewings, but they're not so busy with actual, you know, offers being made, completions, sales, you know. So estate agents very busy with not necessarily the important things, which are actually getting things over the line, I guess. And they may well be listing, but then, you know, we don't necessarily know what they're actually being sold for. So I think there are deals to be had out there. I think basically fewer and slower interest rate cuts by the Bank of England. So they're meeting on the 8th of May, right, next week?
I believe so.
We're making this video on the 3rd of May. So they meet next week on the 8th of May. So yeah, be interesting to see what happens.
I think they'll drop it. I think they
this
will.
time.
I think they will. That's my.
Or is that a prediction?
That's my prediction.
Dun, dun, dun.
Happy to be proved wrong. I just think they will because I think
By
there's
quarter?
a lot of sort of expectation that they should have dropped it in the last meeting and they didn't. And I think they'll drop it by 0.25. Yeah,
that's
quarter.
really interesting. So we reckon it's going to go down to 5%.
I think so.
And do you think that will? How much do you think that will influence the mortgage rates? Because obviously, yeah, the Bank of England base rate does affect mortgage rates, but obviously what does really affect mortgage rates are the swap rates, which have gone up.
Yeah.
So do you see much of a movement?
I think a modest movement. I would imagine maybe 0.1 drop, a 0.1% drop in mortgage products if the base rate goes down 0.25, and then I think maybe another 0.1 or 0.2 if the following meeting they drop it by another quarter of a point. But I think actually probably people will take a bit of convincing that the rate, Bank of England rate that is going to actually go down with any kind of real gusto before they price that in.
And I think also what will happen is when those interest rates, or if they are dropped, what will happen is that that's all anybody will hear about in the media.
Yeah.
Which will obviously affect the market in some shape or form.
Yeah.
So we will wait and see.
Yeah.
We do hope that you found that video insightful, and please like, subscribe and share this video to get up-to-date content, and we very much look forward to seeing you on the next video.